Duncan, I want to clarify, these are not
Clemson orange.
colors. These are Gator colors.
Clemson orange.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you for your leadership on both blockchains and on name, image, and likeness, NIL. I especially want to thank you for releasing your NIL discussion draft, which I'm sure we both hope will ultimately lead to certainty in this space. My question centers on the overlap between NIL and blockchain. Student athletes have a unique platform to create business opportunities for themselves, and we could potentially see a case where a student athlete uses their NIL to create a digital sports collectible through NFTs. So, Mr. Wyatt, how are you seeing NFTs being used by athletes in the digital sports collectible space?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I mean, even Nike is a participation in the space, so I think it is good for athletes that are moving forward. One way is a way for them to uniquely offer opportunities to their community and fans. And so what we're seeing right now is people are using almost NFTs like a membership pass. So people can come in, they understand that there is a finite amount of them, it's access, and then the athletes can use them to do whatever they want, whether it's meet and greets, they want to, do autograph signings. There's a lot of different opportunities for them, but it really clarifies when somebody buys this NFT membership what they're getting from that athlete, and now it's opened up a whole new monetization stream for them. Because these blockchains are open protocols and public goods for everyone, anybody can deploy. So it's great for athletes to be able to really start to think about it in a unique opportunity with NIL as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. Professor Reyes, how could blockchains be used to track an athlete's engagements with an agent and NIL deals? Microphone.
I think this is an excellent question. I'm not sure I'd want to speculate entirely, but I think the first question to ask is whether the athletes, the agents, and if there's any body overseeing the whole thing, whether they trust each other and whether they can trust the information being passed back and forth. Otherwise, I'm not certain a blockchain is necessarily needed. So a blockchain, right, is generally, I think, as other folks have mentioned already this morning, generally used when folks in a arena don't know each other necessarily and don't trust each other and don't trust a third party to handle the information for them. So they use the technology to do the thing.
Wouldn't it also help the people that oversee the activities and help them track and monitor the deals, whether it's the conferences, the universities themselves, or some other governing authority?
So maybe if they need, again, if there's an information gap or a difficulty in getting the information from the participants in NIL activity, but otherwise a centralized agency can always use a just distributed database, and maybe it's a distributed ledger rather than a blockchain, right? A permissioned distributed ledger that isn't necessarily energy intensive, linking blocks of data in cryptographically linked chain. It could just be as much as a use case for a distributed ledger, like a permissioned one, where you cordon off who can participate and what kinds of entries they can make into the system.
Yeah, thank you for that. I want to shift gears. How can blockchain technology combat fraud, corruption, and intellectual property infringement? And I'll go to Mr. Wyatt for that.
The one thing that's really beautiful about blockchains is the inherent transparency for it. And so I believe because it is a transparent protocol, unlike these kind of wall gardens that we see databases sitting in today, it allows us an access that we didn't have before. On the privacy side, you're now moving away from all of that sitting inside of corporations where you have to rely on them, big and small corporations, to now taking your own data and being the controller of that privacy. So this is now a shift where you have to rely on others, where you can now rely on yourself. And I think that allows for a whole nother level of privacy and data that we've never had before.
That's great. So Mr. Sudler, in your written testimony, you state that the U.S. Air Force is using blockchain-based supply chain called Basecamp. You also noted that the Department of Defense has commissioned a Project Almeida to support DoD logistics. This seems like something that we would want to be kept highly classified, yet the DoD is using blockchain to keep track of everything. Are there different types of blockchains that can serve different purposes?
Yes, different blockchains are created for different reasons, and there are essentially three parameters that blockchains try to work with. First is security and how long it takes to secure new transactions on the blockchain. Other is speed, how fast can it actually commit those new transactions to the edge of the blockchain. And the other is fees, in terms of how large the transaction is, that can translate into larger fees. So different blockchains are driven by their consensus model. The Bitcoin blockchain, which is driven by proof of work, uses energy to ensure that transactions.
Is the military using a different blockchain technology?
They're most likely not using proof of work. They're perhaps using proof of authority or proof of stake. But for the military, they would be using some form of a permissioned ledger because this is not something that is open to the public. It is something that only classified individuals should be able to have the access to, and therefore their consensus model would drive that purpose.
Yeah, thank you. My time's expired. Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you.